Hi everyone, a few months ago we did a tour of our 2-unit conversion project here in Brantford, Ontario before any work was done. Now it's fully completed and ready to be rented out. I want to show you guys what has been done and some of the lessons that we learned along the way so that hopefully you can benefit from some of this. Welcome back, I'm Andy from Sweet Additions, where we help homeowners and investors build better homes while creating lasting wealth with legal additional suites. Download our free guides at www.sweetadditions.com to get started. And please do us a huge favor by giving us a thumbs up on this video and subscribing to this channel so that we can get more content out. Okay, so let's check things out. And also stick around to the end because we're going to show you the numbers and what this thing is going to rent for. We're gonna get started on the main floor. All right, so here we are on the main floor of our reno. Okay, so this main unit that we have, originally it was 3-bedroom and there was an addition that was put in the back decades ago and it was just being underutilized. It was just an empty space. And there was also an extra storage in the back there. We actually converted that to a master bedroom. So we went from 3 bedrooms and 1 bathroom to 4 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms. I'm standing right in the living room and the dining room. You can see the kitchen behind me. So if you remember from the previous video, there was actually a wall here. And it's a non-structural wall, so we were able to remove it pretty easily. Basically, the length of the house goes this way and all the ceiling joists are running this way. So that wasn't a structural wall. It made sense just to kind of get rid of it. Now it's open concept. We have a huge kitchen with a wraparound and the peninsula bar, as you can see here. Now you can see the old chimney. We were debating what we wanted to do with this. We were thinking, should we remove it? Obviously it's not being used at all. But after a while, we just decided, hey, why don't we just leave it, clean it up a little bit, and it's, it's kind of like a nice decorative feature. And then everybody told us actually it's kind of nice. So pretty standard stainless steel appliances throughout, which I think it's worth it for the slightly extra cost. All right, so this is the front bedroom. It's about 100 square feet. It's not a huge space. There also isn't a closet in here. So this actually, I think, is gonna work very well as an office, right? As you can see here, there's a electrical panel, and this was not here before. So what we had was we only had 100 amp service coming in, and we've increased the service to 200 amps. And we have 2 separate panels, one upstairs and then one downstairs. The idea is that, if somebody trips a breaker in the upper unit, they don't have to go knock on the door downstairs and have that breaker reset. They can just simply have it done here, right? So tenants that are gonna be living here, they're just gonna get their own accounts with the electrical utility company, and we don't have to deal with that. So with the bathroom, we didn't change the layout. The great thing about keeping the same layout is that there's less work from a plumbing perspective. We don't have to redo the drains. We don't have to redo the supply pipes. That really saves us a lot of money so that we can focus the money towards the actual finishes, which is really what's gonna sell the unit, right? This vanity is a custom vanity. We got it done with the kitchen installers. So they had this done for us just because of this distance here. This was not a standard width. So we had to get this custom. Cost a little bit more, but we think that it's a little bit nicer than just having a standard size in between this space, right? So it depends on what you're after. We want to, especially with the main unit here being 4 bedrooms, the rent's gonna be a lot higher. We want to kind of spend that little bit extra. But everything else is pretty standard. Okay, so here we are in the rear bedroom. This again was part of an addition that was put into this property decades ago. This was kind of an underutilized space here. And we thought that, because you're in the backyard, it would make for a really nice private master bedroom. Okay, so this is the ensuite bath. Instead of a bathtub, we just have a shower here. Now this wall here actually extended all the way to the other side, and behind us here is the stair shaft that goes downstairs. And this was actually open, but we closed this out. We put a fire rated wall here, and then basically this just now becomes the ensuite bath. Okay, so as you guys can see, here's a stackable washer and dryer unit. And this is a very common spot for a lot of these basement conversions. If you guys remember from the first video, I was walking through this area and then going downstairs. So we have a fire separator wall behind here. and this separates the upper unit from the lower unit. So this is kind of the perfect spot to put the washer and dryer. What we did have to do was extend the plumbing and the drains back to this rear addition, which wasn't here before. So that was a lot of plumbing work that needed to be redone. But it made a lot of sense to put this here. And in the basement, in the lower unit, we have side-by-side laundry that's also here that's sharing the same plumbing system. All right, so one thing that I always remind people, and we always remind our clients, is that when they are doing the plumbing for this, is to try to penetrate the plumbing drains and the supply pipes not on the fire rated wall behind here, but rather on the interior wall. That way you don't risk breaching that fire separation, right? So that wall behind here, it's 2 layers of fire rated, plus there's safe and sound insulation behind there as well. Okay, so this pretty much covers the main floor unit. We talk a lot about second suites, but whenever you're doing a conversion project, you're converting 1 to 2 or 1 to 3, it's very important that you focus, not just on that second suite, but you also focus on the main suite. We have to ensure that everything meets code for the main suite, and there are going to be certain things that are going to be more desirable for people on that main unit. All right, so now let's go check out the lower unit. All right, so welcome to the basement unit. And so the entrance was on the side of the house near the rear. And we're actually standing right now in the rear addition, but in the lower side, right? So as soon as they come in, there's a closet here, then you hang up their coats. As you can see, there's stacked side-by-side laundry. So this is actually right below the laundry upstairs. So all the plumbing, all the stuff's here. Okay, so this is just kind of a little bit of a foyer entrance area. Okay, so we're moving into this first room here that is actually also part of the addition. Now, the bylaws here in Brantford are that you can only have 2 bedrooms for an accessory unit, right? So we already have the 2 bedrooms there. So we have this large room that is back here. It's not officially a bedroom, but it's actually sized properly if somebody, were to use it as a bedroom. They can use it for storage if they want. They can use it as an office. This is actually probably a really nice office. And this is going to be the main unit when we pass through this big wall here. This is the original foundation wall. We come in here, we have a wraparound, we have a peninsula. This is good for a couple of stools here for people to have breakfast or have their meal. Now, this is not as large as the one upstairs, just because the space actually between here and the wall is a little bit tighter, but we did have the extra space for the extra storage cabinets and extra countertop here. So this is actually a perfect spot for some additional storage. Costs a little bit more money, but we think it's worth it. Again, we went with stone countertops, even though it's a basement apartment. We wanna have that durability and we wanna have that extra appeal. So for the extra couple $1,000s, we decided that we did wanna go with a quartz countertop, okay? And same thing with the appliances. We have stainless steel appliances being used, It's up to you. That's kind of personal preference. If you just kind of want to get a little bit of premium, rent or sale of the property, then stainless steel is a good option. One thing I want to talk about here is the hood fan. So this is obviously a combination microwave hood fan. This extends out here and into the joist cavity and goes out. Now, one thing to remember from a fire separation perspective is that you actually need to fire separate around that entire shaft in order to provide the complete separation. For old houses, when it comes to the exhaust fan for the kitchens, the exhaust fan for the bathrooms, and also the dryer exhaust, any sort of shaft that is within the fire separation assembly needs to be sealed off, okay? So that's kind of an important part that a lot of people miss. Some inspectors will call you out on it, some won't, but just from a safety perspective, you wanna make sure that you have that covered, okay? Now, when you have old houses and you're putting in the kitchen, you're not required to have natural lighting. All you need are natural lighting for the living room, the dining room, as well as the bedrooms. This is actually an 8-foot wide window. It's about 1.5 feet high. There was actually no window here before. This was just wall, and we had to get this engineered because of the size of the window. Generally speaking, anything more than roughly 4 feet, we need to get that engineered, especially when you're on the sidewall. You have the joists running this way. There's a lot of lateral support. So we had to get an engineer to design this out for us. they had to put in a metal angle to ensure that there's no static pressure or lateral pressure that can affect this foundation wall and cause cracks over time, right? So anytime you open up a large window, you have to be very cognizant of that and make sure to get it properly engineered. Now, in terms of the natural light, as we talked about, in the living room, the natural light requirements are a lot higher. We need to have 5% instead of 2.5% as we had in the bedrooms. And so in this situation here, we meet the natural light requirements. There's a ton of it coming into this kind of common living room, dining room area. In terms of the egress, this also meets the egress requirements, which is minimum 4 square feet and no dimension less than 15 inches. As you guys saw from the previous video, the walls had to be waterproofed. It was very difficult for us to control the water from the outside. In terms of the ceilings, standard fire separation. We have our 2 layers of safe and sound insulation, resilient channeling, 5/8 fire rated drywall that separates the entire upper unit from the lower unit. So this ensures that it's going to be as safe as possible. All right, so here's the back bedroom. This was just an open space before. We have our electrical panel back here. 2 separate panels, right? That way everybody within this unit can control their own breakers. If somebody has a microwave and a toaster running at the same time, trips a breaker, it's a lot easier than having to knock on the door of the other unit. All right, there's a window here. That window's a little bit small, but it doesn't actually even have to be an egress window. As long as we have 1 egress window within the unit, we just need to make sure that we meet the natural light requirements. So for the bedrooms, it's 2.5% of the floor area. So whatever the floor area of the bedroom is, 2.5% needs to be glass for the natural lighting. Okay, so that's what we have for this back bedroom here. All right, so nothing special other than the fact that we had to redo the drains, right? So we had to replace that old cast iron pipe to ABS plastic. We had to dig out some of the pipe underneath. So these are kind of things that you have to consider that are expensive. The good thing was that the main stack wasn't really far away, so we didn't have to extend it that much farther. But there was actually additional work that needed to be done. Acrylic bathtub and pretty standard, stack tiling. Again, we went with the black faucets for the shower and also for the vanity here. So we think that's a nice touch, just to give a little bit of an accent. All right, so next let's check out the service room or furnace room or mechanical room, whatever you want to call it. When it comes to doing these legal additional suites, this is one of the most important areas because there's a lot of things to consider, the systems, as well as the fire separations. All right, so right off the bat, you can see that there are 2 tanks here, and one is gonna be for the lower unit and one is gonna be for the upper unit, right? So this allows us to separate the 2 systems. There's actually 2 separate meters here. There's one main service line that's coming in. The original one was, I think it was a 1/2-inch galvanized steel or a 1/2-inch lead pipe. That had to go. And we can either upgrade it to a 3/4 inch or we can upgrade it to a 1-inch pipe. We decided to just go 1-inch pipe just in case we decide to put in a garden suite in the back later on. And then we're not gonna have to redo this, right? So we did it one time here. And now from in here, we actually have 2 separate meters. And these are actually 2 entirely separate meters that are have separate accounts with the city. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the furnace. It's pretty loud in here. I don't know if you guys can hear it okay, but we have our standard high efficiency furnace. Again, 1 furnace for the entire property because the 1 furnace is actually sized for the entire property. So we don't actually need to do 2 furnaces. You can if you want to, but we think that's overkill. There are other options if you kind of want to separate them. So we decided just to keep the single furnace to service both units. What you see here, this is basically the in-duct smoke detector. And what this does is, in case there's a fire inside the duct system, it turns off the fuel supply, it turns off the blower fan on the furnace so that it doesn't spread the fire between the 2 units. Well, it doesn't actually stop it, but it mitigates it by not making the situation worse, right? So that's really all we can do. We can, if we wanted to, put in fire dampers at the supply registers and the return grills, but that's not required by code in an older house. But you know, people certainly do that for newer houses, or if you want to have that kind of additional level of safety. So let's talk a little bit about the fire separation in here, okay? So the furnace room itself does not need to be fire separated from either unit. However, because the furnace room in most cases is in the basement, if we don't separate a portion of it, potentially the fire can spread from one unit to the other unit, right? So there are two ways to do it. You can either do a fire separation on the ceiling, so then this becomes a fire compartment of the lower unit, or you can do it on the walls, which then makes this a fire compartment of the upper unit. So it's just easier to actually do it on the walls, so that's what we went with, right? And then the other thing also is that when you fire separate the ceiling, it just becomes a little bit of a maintenance nightmare over the long term. You have all sorts of wires, pipes, junction boxes, valves and stuff like that. You see a junction box there. It just makes maintenance in the long term a little bit difficult when you fire separate the ceiling. So where you have the option, we always recommend fire separating the wall. I don't know if you can see this, but basically we have fire rated drywall on the inside, and on the outside we have metal resilient channels, and we have 2 layers of fire rated drywall, and then we also have the fire and sound insulation in the wall cavity. Okay, so it's very important to get this done properly. We also had a floor drain put in here, and yeah, this is basically a separate space. One also very important point that we need to consider is combustion air for this space here. Now, depends on the appliances. We have electric water heaters, so we don't need any combustion air for this, right? This is not a gas appliance, so there's no relevance to combustion air for these systems. However, the furnace, if we have either a conventional or natural draft furnace or anything like that, then we need to have combustion air. Now, some furnaces have the intake coming directly from the outside, which means it would be okay. But our furnace here, the air intake is actually from the room. So we actually have to bring in cold air supply. So there's actually a pipe there that brings in a cold air supply. If you don't have that, the only other option is to bring fresh air in from the house. But again, we're fire separating the walls, so there's no way to do that here. We can do it somewhere on the ceiling. There is actually one way to do it on the walls, is if you have a fire damper that actually shuts off if there is any fire. Okay, so that's the way that you have to do it to make sure that it's a proper furnace room for a 2-unit conversion. Thanks for sticking around to the end. So we told you that we would be sharing the numbers with you. Okay, so the rent amount for the upper unit will be $2,300 plus utilities, and the second suite will be $1,700 plus utilities. We purchased this property for $430,000 in May of 2021 and put over $200,000 of renovation work. This is higher than typical because everything pretty much had to be redone, but we were also able to obtain this property for what we believe to be below market value. So what are your thoughts? Do you think we did a good job, or do you have any suggestions for us where we could have done better? Share your questions and comments below, and I'll be sure to answer everyone. Again, please do me a huge favor by liking this video and subscribe to this channel if you haven't done so already. Please share it with a friend. Thank you so much for watching it to the end. Keep creating better homes while generating wealth, and we'll see you in the next video. Hey guys, so we're bringing back our popular Second Suites Profit Formula training program with live sessions starting on the week of May the 16th. If you sign up by April the 24th, you also get the bonus on-site tour of our brand new 2-unit conversion in Brantford on Saturday, April the 30th, where we break down the entire renovation process and all the costs associated with it post-pandemic. We also have a $400 off early bird discount. Space is limited for the bonus on-site workshop, so sign up now so you don't miss out. In our training, we're going to cover the entire process of second suite investing and also get into some of the technical sides of garden suites. We cover financing, design and permits, step-by-step renovation process, strategies for renting out and refinancing, and a whole lot more. We also have expert guests on our sessions to answer your questions and bonus workshops of live projects and garden suites. You don't want to miss this opportunity to learn how to create amazing homes and generate lasting wealth. Check out the link in the description below to sign up with our early bird discount and get the bonus on-site training. Thanks very much, and we'll see you there.